Welcome, everyone, to the Week 7 series of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you have not had the chance, go check us out on our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at justsayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. The afternoon game's kicking off around 4 p.m. We're getting started. Let's take ourselves down to the Tampa Bay facing off against the Las Vegas Raiders. A little bit of news on that one. Tampa Bay just signed Antonio Brown. The rich seem to get richer. He will not be playing this week. He will not be playing next week either because he has an 8-game suspension coming into this season. So we will see him week 9, which means that the three-headed dragon of the offense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is going to be Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Antonio Brown, which sounds terrifying.
Yeah, definitely. I would not want to be the secondary that has to go up against them while Tom Brady is throwing them the ball. I mean, they are creating some crazy, one of those superhero team up groups on this football team. They got Leonard Fournette. They needed, the running game to improve, and now Ronald Jones still looks great. And then you have Chris Godwin finally healthy, Mike Evans finally healthy after a rough start to the season with a little bit of nagging injuries. And then you put Antonio Brown there. He's probably going to be playing the slot, which, in the past has been Brady's favorite guy to throw to. I'm pretty scared for a situation like that. In terms of this game, I'm interested to see how the Raiders step up. They have been a team, especially we talked about how this new 7-game playoff format really shapes these teams that could get in on that bubble. I think the Raiders are that team that is fighting for it. They know Kansas City at the moment, even though they have the win over them, has the advantage in the division right now. It's still early, but it's on the pace for that. And if they got to make a wild card spot, they're going to have to beat a team like Tampa. They won't play them. Tampa's in the NFC, but I want to see the Raiders show up this week. I want to see Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Henry Ruggs. I want to see the defense. I want to see our guy Max Crosby with the pressure. This is going to have to be a battle for the Raiders if they want to beat Tom Brady this week.
Yeah, the Raiders, they beat the Chiefs, who we did not expect them to beat in Arrowhead too. And coming into this game, you're expecting a lot of momentum. Weird week for them. Trent Brown, COVID reserve, will not be playing Sunday. Yeah. Jonathan Abram, also COVID reserve, will not be playing this week. The entire offensive line at one point for the Raiders were not practicing because they were considered high risk, meaning they were also put on the COVID reserve list. Even though they hadn't tested positive, they had to do a 5 days of negative, which they have, and are training to play tomorrow, assuming that no positive cases come about. That being said, the Raiders did not get to practice with their full offensive line this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who has Ndamukong Suh, and who has Shaq Barrett, and who has Jason Pierre-Paul, I would be a little bit excited about this game because these guys haven't gotten to practice all week. That's big. That is huge when you're coming into such a big matchup. It's going to allow this defense who got to practice this week, and who got to dominate Aaron Rodgers last week, try to replicate what they did to Rodgers just against Derek Carr. I don't think that the Raiders are going to be able to get it done this week. I've enjoyed what they've been able to do, beating the Saints, beating the Chiefs. These were some surprise games I wasn't expecting necessarily. But I think that they're going to finally meet their maker against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's really just because they did not have the normal practice time that a team would get. They didn't have the normal time of getting to gel together. As much as I love Josh Jacobs, and I expect him to be one of the best running backs going forward and continue to be one of the best running backs like he already has been. It's been a slightly weird year for him. He's seeing the carries. He's not seeing the yards or the touchdowns. He has 5 touchdowns that have only come in 2 games. You want to see more production from him in that realm. Maybe not necessarily yards, but you want to see a few more touchdowns from him. Yeah. And I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just have a really good defense coming in. They got Anton Winfield in the backfield. Again, that defensive line is really good. Arguably the best linebacking duo in the league right now with Levante David and Devin White. I think it's just going to be a little bit too much for the Raiders this week with such an unusual offensive practice for them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I wanted to go with the Raiders going in, but when you see these injuries, it's really tough with the matchups. Jonathan Abram would have been great for the overcover, especially for, Godwin and Evans when Brady's going deep with them. But you mentioned it. There's talent on this defensive line for the Buccaneers, and Josh Jacobs going into practice with, his rhythm thrown off a little, while the season's been throwing his rhythm off a little bit. You're giving him this opportunity to, get that volume, but you have to go up against Sue. You have to go up against Shaq Barrett, Devin White, Levante David. These are Pro Bowlers, all pros. These are people who can sack you. They can take your running backs out. They have great run stoppers. I think it is going to be a really tough matchup for the Raiders this week. I'm going with
agree
the
with
Bucs.
you more.
Yeah,
Couldn't agree with you more.
and next we're going over to a game where it's not going to be as much of a battle, but both of these teams, they're at the point this season where they literally just need a win. They both stand at 1-5 for the Jags, 1-4 for the Chargers. This is a very interesting opportunity with these teams, the way that they're trending, injuries. The Jags being in such a rebuild state at the moment. It's a tough one, but I'm loving Justin Herbert this week to take Jacksonville on. He hasn't won a game as the starter yet. But however, he's had to play Tom Brady and Drew Brees, two of the best to ever play the game consecutively in his first 4 career games. And I want to see him flourish. This is somebody I was big into. I thought he was very limited in college, and now he has the time. You're seeing him on these play action passes going 50 yards through the air. I'm loving that, and I want to see that this week against Jacksonville. I'm looking for Justin Herbert. He's like my player to watch in this game. The whole offense is gonna run through him.
Yeah, I think that the Chargers get a win here. I know that their defense is pretty banged up. No Chris Harris Jr., no Derwin James, no Melvin Ingram. Joey Bosa has been playing, but limited snaps because of injuries. So you're expecting the Jaguars to maybe win this game. Herbert's played fantastic, I think, through his starts. He hasn't won a game yet, like you said. And his deep ball, which you and I talked about during the offseason, we didn't get to see a lot at Oregon.
Yeah.
He has a cannon. He can hit the deep ball really, really well. His deep ball accuracy is fantastic that we only saw at the pro day. And we're seeing it really brought out on third down a lot of the times. And he's just making some great passes. And him and Mike Williams seem to be building some sort of rapport almost on these deep balls where they can just throw it deep and hit them. So I'm excited. I think that the Chargers are going to get it done. I think that Herbert's going to finally get his first win. They haven't won a game since the opening week against the Bengals when Tyrod Taylor was at the helm. So I think that this is a week that they can do it up against a pretty light Jacksonville Jaguars defense. And on the flip, I expect Minshew to have a pretty solid game up against the depleted Chargers defense, but I don't think it will be enough to actually get them to win. Between Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, and Mike Williams, Justin Jackson, and Josh Kelly, this offense will do a lot of what it needs to get this win to get it done.
Yeah, I like LA in this. We've talked about liking Jacksonville this year, but they have really not come into it. They have trailed really, early in games to the point where you kind of know that they're still competitive. But the one real big spark of Jacksonville I want to point out is James Robinson this year. Coming out of nowhere. He's been great. But right now I want to see a little bit more from him. He's averaging around 60 yards on the ground a game, but it's really his receiving yards that pop out to me. He's had 27 targets at the running back position through the air, and he's caught 23 targets for 207 yards. He's got a total on the year right now of 569 scrimmage yards. And that's great, what you want to see from somebody as a first-year starter. And he could have his hands full, though, with this Chargers defense.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I do think that Herbert's going to get his first win as a rookie, which will just be exciting. I think kind of maybe give them some momentum going into next week.
Yeah,
it'll just be huge for the Chargers in a really, really tough AFC West.
Yeah, but we're both going with the Chargers in that one. The Chargers were a team that we were really looking for at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I was hoping for so much more. All these things are killing me.
And it's tough. We want to see these players come back and do well, but the Chargers have a bright future. It's just a big adjustment period for them right now. After the Phillip Rivers era is over and we're seeing the beginning of that, I think that there are bright days ahead. Right now, where we got two teams where, bright days have been, but right now it seems like it's been pretty balanced for both these teams. San Francisco 49ers coming in, at 3-3. They've had an injury list that looks like a CVS receipt.
Yeah.
It is a long injury list every week. We have starters out, people who come out of nowhere and do great. They're out too. It's a tough one. And they won't have Raheem Mostert. They won't have Quan Alexander. Jimmy Ward is out. This is not what you want to see from a defense that's already super banged up, and they're going up against New England, who comes prepared every week.
Yeah, New England has had a weird season. I'm looking over the list right now. I'm just seeing it's a 2-3 record for the Patriots, and that just sounds wrong for some reason. Just saying it aloud that the Patriots are
wrong.
2-3, a losing record. This is unusual.
6 weeks in? Never.
And last week we said that the Patriots going to get the win against the Broncos, and they didn't. They struggled. There was no passing identity all of a sudden for them. It was completely non-existent. Newton was holding onto the ball a little bit too long in the pocket. Wasn't just taking some looks that he could have taken. I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of offense they're going to show us this week. Is it going to be a run-heavy quarterback offense? Are we going to be looking more towards Damian Harris and James White? Sony Michel is not in right now. So what's this offensive identity going? I want to see a little bit more from N'Keal Harry. I want to see more from Julian Edelman. I want to see more from these guys. But I just don't know what's going to happen. I think that the main matchup here is going to be the Kyle Shanahan offensive game plan versus the Bill Belichick defensive game plan. I don't know if it's really a player X factor because of how injured these teams are, and so how many weapons the Patriots even lack. One can argue on the offensive side, but I think it's going to come down to which coach has put together the game plan that requires them. Last week we saw that Kyle Shanahan put together a game plan that put Jimmy G in a really comfortable position to throw 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, going 23 for 33. Are they going to be able to replicate that, or is Bill Belichick going to make Jimmy super uncomfortable? Because he knows Jimmy. He was on that roster. He knows how to make his quarterback uncomfortable.
And these are all good questions. I mean, this is really the matchup. While the Patriots have this Cam Newton trial run, I want to call it this year, I believe that he could be the quarterback there next year. But this year has definitely been a transitional period for the coaching staff. Just a totally different quarterback. He's mobile. He's able to get out of the pocket. Brady was quick throws. Cam buys his time.
And are you saying Brady's not a running quarterback?
No,
my man already got a rushing touchdown this year.
We need them to go to the 40 side by side and really hash this one out. But I mean, they, like you said, they don't have the identity. I'm looking for San Francisco here to get like what I call a dirty win. Just they get this done, even though they're not the better team all day. It's a weird insight, but like you said, this defense is going to give them a really hard time.
Yeah, I originally wrote Pats as the one who are going to win, and then right before we started this video, I changed and I went for the 49ers because I like what they've had to overcome, playing horribly against the Dolphins and then being able to bounce back and put together an offensive game plan. I'm gonna go with the 49ers as well. I think that Kyle Shanahan can put together a scheme. They've been injured all season pretty much, and they've had to play through all these injuries and have found ways to win games. So I trust what they can do on that end. And with the Patriots right now, it's more so that, not that I don't trust Newton. I think you're right. I think that he could be the future of this team for sure. But I just don't know what offense it's going to be. I haven't seen a passing rhythm from them last week. I don't know if that's going to be able to get done this week. It wouldn't surprise me if the Patriots win just because it's the Patriots. I think that the 49ers are going to get it done at Gillette Stadium this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And, we love a good, matchup between, Bill and his former guy, Jimmy. It's always a nice little battle there. And the last game of the afternoon window is Kansas City coming in versus Denver Broncos. We got to see Philip Lindsay come back last week. Things are looking pretty solid for the Broncos after a lot of really tough last couple of weeks for them. Tough season to start. But is there a way Denver can stop Patty Mahomes?
Before we even get into can the Broncos stop Patty Mahomes? Similar to the Buccaneers, the rich get richer for the Chiefs. They signed Le'Veon Bell. I mean,
Ooh,
I know, and you know what? Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a great game last week.
great game. 160 yards on the ground.
160 yards on the ground on 26 carries. That's what you want to see out of your rookie first rounder. But I just think that the signing of Bell, not to say that Bell is going to be the feature back, not to say that Bell is going to just come in and dominate our 120 yards. I don't think that's the case. But Andy Reid, the offensive genius that he is and the coaching genius that he is, having two capable running backs who can run the ball 3 downs in a row for you or catch the ball out of the backfield is going to allow them to do so much more. With a team, and they're a team that already does so much offensively, and they're going to find a way to open up their playbook even more, which just sounds terrifying. It just sounds terrifying. I mean, you already have Patrick Mahomes. You already have Tyreek Hill. You already have Travis Kelce. You have a young rookie running back. You get a solidified starter again in Le'Veon Bell. You're only paying him $1 million. As much as I love Vic Fangio as a head coach, because he's such a defensive-minded guy, he was great for the Bears while he was the DC there. I just don't see how the Broncos can answer every single possible person that can choose to be the guy that given week.
Yeah.
What I am curious about with Le'Veon Bell, and I'll ask you, he didn't rush for over 20 yards once. And what I mean by that is he didn't get a single run that went for over 20 yards in just one run. Does he get to do that up against the Broncos? Is this the first time that we're going to see a 20-yard run from Le'Veon Bell in years?
Literally, we haven't, because, he took the year off and then he spent last year with the Jets. This year, they cut ties last week. And you asked a very interesting question here. He is going to be featured, but yeah, he's getting a 20-yard run. You know why? Because as you mentioned, it's the coaching of this team above all that makes it so dangerous. It's not the generational quarterback or the 2-star run. It's the fact that if he wants to draw a play up for Le'Veon Bell that gets him a 20-yard run, give him a counter, change the direction, he has the offensive line to do it. They have great pass protection. We watched them last week run the ball, and they were able – that was the most Andy Reid has ever run the ball in his coaching career, which is a long time.
Yeah, very long.
I think that, Bradley Chubb is going to be a big force against Pat Mahomes and this run game, but he is one guy. And as you mentioned, it's going to take a team of people. And, I also think on the other side, we're looking at Kansas City's defense against Broncos offense. Philip Lindsay came back, had a good game last week, but
great game. Over 100 yards rushing. What you want to see from your running back coming back from injury, considering things going around with Melvin Gordon right now.
And I just want to remind the people out there, Melvin Gordon getting signed this year, it doesn't help the real football. People who really watch this game know the fact that this guy came undrafted, and he has 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. 2 of them. He is still good. Philip Lindsay was hurt. He couldn't play. He's back. He's ready to go. I'm excited to watch him. I'm looking forward to a battle here. Denver knows how to play Kansas City, but Kansas City has looked fantastic the last couple of weeks. That Raiders game, that's one of those divisional matchups where you have to see if it swings their way.
Yeah.
Looking for, big offensive game. Lev may not get too many snaps. I think Andy Reid has a big playbook. He's going to have to learn the scheme and kind of earn those touches, but he is talented. He has the full opportunity to do it.
Absolutely. And I don't want to just only talk about how great the Chiefs are, as great as they are, but the Broncos, getting Drew Lock back, that's a huge boost. He played pretty well against a pretty tough Patriots defense last week. And Tim Patrick is just playing phenomenally in the absence of the majority of their weapons. Last 2 games, 214 yards, 10 receptions on 15 targets, and a touchdown. You couldn't ask for more for a team that's really missing its weapons. They're also getting Noah Fant back, who's a really solid, really athletic tight end that's going to help them out in this passing game. I think you're right. It's going to be an offensive game.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how this game goes. I don't know if this will be a super high-scoring game. And I know that sounds weird, but I feel like the defenses are good enough where they may be able to put up a stop here and there. But I feel like it's just going to be so many yards. I feel like you're going to see a lot of yards for a 27-18 kind of game. That's where the points where I'd put it at. I just feel like both teams are going to put up a lot of yards, but maybe struggle in the red zone a little bit because these defenses are pretty solid.
Yeah.
But Chiefs have too many weapons. You can't cover all their weapons in any given moment. There's too many just superstars / stars on the team as is. And I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to get it done.
Yeah, I mean,
against the Broncos.
You literally can't count them out week in and week out unless you have a team that can cover their offense. And really, while covering
Unless you're the
Raiders.
Raiders.
The Raiders had a great pressure, and they have a great secondary, and they know how to play the team. This on the Denver side, Denver has gone through a lot of changes, as we've mentioned, week by week. It seems like every week something else happens. With Melvin Gordon not there now that Lindsey's back, that just doesn't give them that two-headed monster. It keeps it limited just to what Lindsey can do or what Gordon can do. But Kansas City here, they get creative. It's going to be an interesting week, and, we'll see how many carries Lev gets. I think, he'll play, if he's on the field and he's dressed, maybe he'll play 30% of the snaps, but we'll see.
That's high. I like it. I like it. Bold. All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Enjoy the late afternoon games.
Yeah, remember to stay safe watching the games. JustSayingFootball.com. Check it out. We got videos and articles up there all the time. YouTube, Just Saying Football, and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your updates.